What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Guys, welcome to my office, by the way. I never film in here because the lighting and the audio is absolute garbage. But I've got a very interesting one for you today. Let's go. So last week, Thunderbird and I had to grab some parts from the local junkyard. And we hadn't honestly been at a junkyard in quite a while. So, while he was grabbing some parts, I just kind of walked around and looked. And just kind of took in everything. And if you're anything like me, you could walk around a junkyard for hours, and I pretty much did. But it got me to thinking, seeing all these cars that are like, if you think about a 30-plus-year-old car, there's not many of them left on the road. We're talking 30 years. Most cars don't last that long. Most people don't keep them that long. And it's just, to be honest, it's kind of sad when you see some of these cars in the junkyard. You're like, man, that would have been a cool project. That would have been a cool project. This car had potential, on and on and on. And it really got me to thinking about some of the coolest cars, Ford cars, that you really just don't see anymore. So I've got a top 5 list. Cool Fords you just don't see anymore. All right, guys, so number 5 on the list is the Ford SVT Focus. Now, the Focus was a little basic compact car, you know, nothing special about it. Obviously, it replaced the Escort. But when SVT decided to launch the SVT Focus, it was actually really cool. That was the time when Fast and Furious was really big, and the whole import craze was huge, and just kind of coming into its infancy. And you know, Ford wanted a piece of that market, and the SVT Focus was an absolutely badass little ride. Handled really good. Power wasn't huge, but it was decent for the car, and the car was small and lightweight. And it was just a cool little roller skate that would take the turns, had the SVT name on it. It was a cool little ride, and you don't see them. All right, number 4 on the list of cars you don't see anymore also comes from SVT, and is the SVT Contour. Yes, they made an SVT Contour. And that was actually a really sick little ride. The interior was awesome. It had better seats than the Mustang. Manual trans. They did a lot of work on the engine, you know, porting and all of that. And it made really good power. Had a cool little body kit on it. Came in great colors. Just a fun little car. Like the SVT Focus, it handled really well. I mean, it wasn't gonna, you know, beat an 03 Cobra or anything, but it had great power, and it was kind of the Beamer fighter, you know, fighting the M3s and the smaller body Mercedes, stuff like that, at a lower cost. Super cool car, and I'm telling you, I haven't seen one in probably 20 years. All right, next on the list, number 3 is the Ford Probe, and I'm gonna be a little more specific on the 2nd generation Probe. Because it had a freaking great looking body on it, especially the GT. It made really good power for what it was, had great looking 17-inch wheels, really cool interior. It was just a really cool little car, almost kind of reminded me of a C5 Corvette from the front. But I'm telling you, I don't know where all they went. I know they didn't sell a billion of them, but I haven't seen a Probe in years, whether 1st gen or 2nd gen, but they were super cool little cars, and good gas mileage, cool looking, and you could make them handle really good. Just a super cool Ford you don't ever see anymore for whatever reason. All right, number 2 is kind of a multi-generational thing, and that's the Thunderbird, whether a turbo coupe, super coupe, the V8 sport cars, whether they were the 83 to 88s or the 89 to 97 cars. You just don't see them. And I'm telling you, the junkyard we were in, they had at least 20 of them. At least 20 of them. It was mind-blowing. But the Thunderbirds were super cool cars. They were extremely comfortable. They had a little more plush ride, so they're, you know, it was a little better riding car than the Mustang. You could still get the V8, although, you know, some generations didn't have the HO version of the 5.0, and then later on they had the non-PI 4.6 V8s in them. But super cool car, two-door, badass interior, great looking car, decent power. And then the super coupes and the turbo coupes made decent power and had all kinds of cool, crazy features. Just a really cool car that, unfortunately, despite I know they sold a lot of them over the years, you just don't really see them on the road anymore. All right, so number 1 on the list is the Taurus SHO, and I'm gonna focus a little more on the first and second gen. Those were my favorites, especially like the 89 models were super cool cars. Stick shift, made 220 horsepower, and in some drag tests that some of the like the Motor Trends and stuff did back in the day, they were neck and neck with the Mustang GT, which was pretty damn impressive. I actually almost bought a first gen SHO stick shift car, and they had JBL sound systems, made great power. The seats were super comfortable. They looked very similar to the Thunderbird Super Coupe seats with really good side bolstering. Really unique little Yamaha V6 in them. I mean, just a super cool car, and you don't see them anymore. I know they're out there. I'm on Facebook groups where, you know, a lot of guys have them, but unfortunately you just don't see many of them, and that kind of sucks because they're a really, really cool car. And another one I'd like to have in the fleet if I could find a fairly clean one. Maybe someday. You know, I think a lot of it too is the fact that a lot of these cars did not have the aftermarket support that the Mustang does. You can literally buy anything for a Mustang, from a trim kit to headlights to headliners, all of that stuff. But for all these cars on the list, you couldn't buy much of nothing. I'm sure you could maybe buy crash repair parts. I don't even know if you can get that stuff anymore, but there wasn't a big aftermarket following. You know, there wasn't a lot of enthusiast interest. There was some, but not to the level of, you know, the Mustang and, you know, even say like the Lightning, stuff like that. And it's unfortunate, but not that you can do anything about it, but it's unfortunate that they didn't have that, and so their legacy just kind of fell by the wayside. All right, guys, so that is my top 5 list. Drop me a comment below. What are some kind of obscure but cool Fords that you just don't see anymore that you'd like to see? I'm always looking for cool Fords to do videos on. I think I do have a few in the works, some that are on this list. So shoot me an email if you've got one of the cars on the list. I'd love to talk to you. If at all possible, do some content on them, because they're cool. People appreciate them, and if you're a Ford enthusiast, you know, we're not just into Mustangs. We like cool Ford. We like pretty much anything cool. There's my top 5. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Drop me a comment below, something I forgot. We'll catch you on the next one.